Welcome back to Stories Aloud, where every tale carries a shadow, a whisper, and a heartbeat of mystery. Today, we step into Manderley, the sprawling, storm-kissed estate at the heart of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. It's a story of love haunted by memory, of innocence tangled in secrets, and of a woman whose presence is felt long after she is gone. Settle in. This is a journey through suspense, elegance, and the lingering power of a name. We will explore the desolate beauty of Manderley, a place that became a sepulchre for fear and suffering. We trace the journey of the second Mrs. de Winter, an ordinary girl thrown into a world of wealth and judgment, constantly measured against the dazzling deceased first wife, Rebecca. We'll uncover the strange circumstances of a marriage built on loneliness and the dark secrets hidden in a seaside cottage. We follow the events leading up to the shocking climax, the discovery that proves the past is never truly buried, and the ultimate truth about Maxim de Winter and the woman who haunts him. So we are back, and this time we're really getting into the weeds on a true classic. We're tearing apart the psychological infrastructure of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca.
And this is so much more than just a simple story review.
Oh, absolutely.
What we want to do is really extract these universal ideas about, well, about identity, about memory, and maybe most importantly, how a place, a setting, can become a character, an antagonist even.
That's the mission. We're going to try to distill the key dramatic and psychological elements to figure out how a person can be so utterly dominated.
And almost destroyed.
Almost destroyed, yeah. Not by a ghost in the traditional sense, but by a flawlessly constructed memory. What happens when the past isn't just something you remember, but it's an active, breathing participant in your present?
That's the question. We want to give you a shortcut to understanding the really profound, complex themes that are at play here.
And the genius of this story, the way it's structured, is that it immediately sets us up for this kind of psychological investigation by starting, well, at the end.
Right. It opens with the after moment. We meet Maxim and our narrator, the second Mrs. de Winter, and they're in exile. They're living in some dreary European hotel, a world away from the grandeur of Manderley.
And it's not a glamorous exile either. They're clearly not living the high life anymore. Their existence is built on this relentless, almost punishing routine.
It's a life defined by a very determined simplicity. The food is described as indifferent, the weather is predictable, the days they just melt into one another.
But it's not peaceful, is it? It's not a happy retirement.
Not at all, and that's the key. This isn't some accidental peace they've stumbled upon. It's a bunker. It's a carefully, meticulously constructed defensive bunker they've built around themselves.
Boredom is a weapon.
Exactly. The source material explicitly calls it a pleasing antidote to fear. They are actively, consciously suppressing the trauma of what happened at Manderley.
And the narrator's behavior is just a masterclass in this kind of psychological coping. She's developed what she calls a genius for reading aloud.
But it's a defensive skill.
It's entirely defensive. She very carefully picks what she reads to Maxim. It has to be so bland, so dry, that it acts like a sensory shield for him.
We have to zoom in on those specifics because they are so telling. The book highlights that she reads him the dry cricket scores.
Billiard results, boxing bouts.
Right. Statistical, non-emotional, completely factual subjects. They're a lifeline for them. They're just enough to distract Maxim so his face can settle back into what she calls repose.
It's trauma avoidance. It's using banality as a form of therapy almost. Anything that could remind him of Manderley, a scent, a sound, a description of nature, it's all filtered out.
She has to keep the things that hurt to myself alone. That's a direct quote. Her own memories. The smell of wet earth, of peat from the moor, the image of foxgloves.
Those are her secret indulgence.
She calls them the tender enemies of bitterness, which is just, what a phrase.
It tells you everything, doesn't it? It establishes right away that their marriage, at this point, is founded on this kind of unilateral trauma management. She protects him by just swallowing her own pain, her own memories.
And on the surface, it seems to work. She says, they march in unison, no clash of thought or of opinion makes a barrier between us. It's an alliance that's been forged in silence.
Which leads to that incredible, painful bit of irony where she says, we have no secrets now from one another.
Of course.
The reader knows that the entire novel we're about to experience is the story of the most colossal secret imaginable.
The one they had to share to get to this armed peace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to understand how they ended up needing this kind of rigid, structured avoidance, we have to go back. We have to rewind to the beginning.
Yeah.
To Monte Carlo.
And the contrast between them there is It's almost painful to read.
Yeah, it really is. In Monte Carlo, our narrator is basically a non-entity. She's defined entirely by what she lacks. She has no wealth, no social standing, no real identity of her own.
She looks back on herself in her memory and sees, what is it, a shy, uneasy colt.
Dressed in ill-fitting clothes, trailing behind this monstrous figure, Mrs. Van Hopper.
Ugh, Mrs. Van Hopper. She is the perfect symbol of that, vulgar, grasping, social climbing wealth.
Loud, snobbish, and that great visual of her tottering high heels.
And she's the one who says curiosity is a disease, yet she's literally rushing through her dessert just so she can get a table next to the famous, recently widowed Maxim de Winter.
She is the gatekeeper of all these social rules that our narrator doesn't even begin to understand.
And then you have Maxim. He's presented as this total enigma from the first moment. He's ill and secretive, and the gossip swirling around the hotel is that he can't get over his wife's death.
So the shadow of Rebecca is already there. It's cloaking him before our narrator even knows her name.
He just seems completely detached from everything. Our narrator sees him as a gentleman unknown who, cloaked in secret, walked a corridor by night. It's so gothic.
It's not a crush, is it? It's more like she's fascinated by a figure of tragedy. She sees this profound wound, this hidden sorrow.
And she feels her own inadequacy so keenly in his presence. You have that awful moment where she knocks over the vase of anemones at lunch.
Oh, it's so cringeworthy.
It's this perfect little symbol of her complete inability to navigate this world. Her gaucherie, her shame, it's all there.
And it's immediately followed by her having to spell out her social position or lack thereof.
Right. She has to explain she's an employer. She's training me to be a thing called a companion, and she pays me £90 a year.
You put that £90 a year up against Maxim de Winter's world. The disparity is just immense. It's not just social, it's existential. She's a thing, a paid companion.
Yeah.
She's disposable.
And yet somehow she starts to pierce that aristocratic detachment just a little bit. We start seeing these flickers of his hidden pain.
Like when Mrs. Van Hopper mentions the Manderley fogs.
Yes. His face just clouds over, and the narrator realizes she's glimpsed something personal to himself with which I had no concern. His moods are so volatile, it's a huge red flag.
A massive red flag that she, in her youthful infatuation, just completely sails past.
And that volatility really peaks on the cliff road, doesn't it? When he has that sudden, terrifying moment of withdrawal.
He looks right through her.
Without recognition, that's the line. And she feels this stab of anxiety that he must have forgotten all about me, this emotional whiplash, this ability he has to just turn off. It tells you everything you need to know about the trauma that's driving him.
Which brings us to the proposal, which is maybe the least romantic proposal in all of literature.
It's shocking in its abruptness. It's entirely prompted by Mrs. Van Hopper threatening to drag the narrator off to America. It forces his hand.
So he comes back, and there's no flowery language. There are no declarations of love. It's a binary choice, an ultimatum.
Either you go to America with Mrs. Van Hopper or you come home to Manderley with me. That's it.
And she accepts. Immediately. Of course she does. She's swept up in this powerful crush. But the terms are so clinical.
He never once says, I love you. He says he wants her company. He's very careful to avoid any suggestion of kindness or charity. It's really just an admission of his own crushing loneliness.
It confirms Mrs. Van Hopper's cynical take on the whole thing. He needed a companion. He needed someone to fill the empty house, not a soulmate.
And there are two little details from that scene that just act like these tiny, sharp needles, popping the romance bubble before it even forms.
The kiss.
The kiss. Not dramatic as in books. It was quiet. It was functional. A joining of two people for reasons that are clearly not passion.
And the other one, the rule.
The rule. Promise me you will never wear black satin.
Why black satin? It's so specific.
It has to be Rebecca's signature, doesn't it? It's the first tangible piece of her ghost imposing itself on their relationship. He's not just asking the narrator to be herself. He's asking her to be the opposite of Rebecca.
Don't be glamorous. Don't be powerful. Don't be her.
And then when she asks about having a big wedding, he just shuts it down. It's so brutal.
You forget. I had that sort of wedding before.
He's not offering her a fresh start. He's offering her a quiet, subdued second act that is entirely built on trying and failing to forget the brilliant first one.
And so this very subdued second act takes them to Manderley.
Which is where the story really begins. Manderley is not just a house. It's an oppressive, manipulative entity. It's a character in its own right.
If the first part of the book is about her social anxiety, the second half is about the house's very specific, very targeted hostility towards her.
And the journey to the house is just a masterclass in building that atmosphere. It's designed to create this sense of nervous anticipation, of isolation.
The drive is described as labyrinthine.
Yeah, the path twisting and turning like an enchanted ribbon, leading them deeper and deeper into this dark, enclosed forest. It really heightens the sense that they're entering a world that's cut off from everything else, no escape.
And when they finally arrive, it's exactly as beautiful as she imagined from the postcards she saw as a child.
A thing of grace and beauty,
Yeah.
exquisite and faultless, lovelier even than I had ever dreamed.
But notice the feeling she has immediately. She feels remote from it. She feels too distant for it to ever be hers. The physical perfection is immediately met with this psychological wall.
And the atmosphere is literally preserved. This is how the memory haunts them, through sensory details, like the library.
The ancient mossy smell.
Yes, like a silent church where services are seldom held. The air inside is little changed. Manderley isn't just aging, it's actively preserving the exact moment of Rebecca's departure.
It's a tomb, a sepulcher, just like she says.
And if the house is the physical tomb, then Mrs. Danvers is the high priestess maintaining the shrine.
Her presence is felt before she even appears. Frith, the butler, explains that the whole formal arrival, all the servants lined up.
That was Mrs. Danvers' orders, sir. She's the shadow mistress. She's running the house long before the new Mrs. de Winter even sets foot inside.
And that first meeting is just, it's so chilling. The description of her is so precise.
Her hand is cold, lifeless. Her eyes are dark and somber. And our narrator feels this strange feeling of disquiet, of foreboding, instantly.
Danvers is gone. She's white. And she immediately establishes her power, her tenure, and most importantly, her allegiance.
She delivers the line that is the source of all her power. I came here when the first Mrs. de Winter was a bride.
And her voice changes.
It does. It's usually dull and toneless, but suddenly it becomes harsh now, with unexpected animation, with life and meaning. That one moment tells you everything. Her devotion to Rebecca is absolute. It's fanatic. It's possessive.
And she's sizing up the narrator from the second she sees her. She looks at her with this mix of pity and of scorn.
She sees immediately that this new person is no great lady, that she's humble and shy and diffident.
And the narrator's attempt to make peace is so pathetic. That line, I shan't want to make any changes.
It's meant as an offering, but Danvers just sees it as weakness. It fuels her possessiveness. It confirms the narrator is no threat to Rebecca's memory.
And the narrator understands almost at once that she's a psychological interloper. She notices how her own footsteps sound foolish and clumsy in these grand spaces.
She just can't fill the role. She's immediately failing at being the mistress of the house, a role Rebecca clearly mastered with zero effort. She's constantly tripping over the invisible tripwires of Rebecca's routine.
And the evidence of this haunting just starts piling up, often through these small physical objects.
Like the dog Jasper.
Yes, he comes to her, but not out of affection for her.
No, it's because she happens to be leaning against Rebecca's cushion. And the dog just remembers that this was his custom. He's conditioned to Rebecca's routine. The dog is a physical marker of the past.
But maybe the most devastating symbol of her inadequacy is the writing desk, the one in the morning room.
It's the nerve center of the house, and it is completely dominated by Rebecca's efficient, pointed handwriting.
All the little pigeonholes are labeled, letters unanswered, estate, menus. It's the physical proof of Rebecca's competence, her control.
And our narrator sits there at that desk, and the only thing she can think to do is write a silly, awkward letter to Mrs. Van Hopper. She can't function, she's lost. She's an interloper, touching things she didn't choose, unable to continue the seamless flow of this life.
And then comes the personal attack, the inscription in the book,
Under her pillow.
Max from Rebecca. And she knows instantly it must have been for his birthday. It's not just a random object left behind. It's an intimate, personalized reminder of Rebecca's presence in their marriage bed.
It just fuels that constant, pervasive sense of being measured.
And always being found lacking.
Which leads directly into this crushing burden of comparison. It's driven home by every single person who visits, every corner of the house. You can't escape a ghost when the whole world is her accomplice.
And Maxim's own sister, Beatrice, becomes this unintentional agent of cruelty.
She's described as very direct and someone who believes in speaking her mind. She's not trying to be mean,
But her observations are like little cuts. She says Maxim was a perfect wreck 6 months ago, which just reinforces the idea he married for recovery, not love.
And she looks at the narrator and says she's an absolute child. And she doesn't hunt. It's another way she doesn't fit the mold of a Manderley mistress.
But the most painful confirmation comes from the gossip she overhears, that constant, haunting phrase that follows them.
Guests drive away saying it. She's so different from Rebecca.
They talk about Rebecca's tremendously popular personality, her beauty, the incredible party she threw, a life the narrator cannot even imagine, let alone replicate.
Rebecca had this huge public identity. Our narrator has none at all.
And the house itself reinforces this through its geography, specifically the West Wing.
The forbidden territory. The narrator blunders into Rebecca's locked, dust-sheeted suite, and she finds this perfect shrine.
It's not an abandoned space. Danvers has maintained it. It's fully furnished. It's filled with Rebecca's clothes, her monogrammed brushes, her scent.
And the narrator feels this immediate sense of oppression. The silence is thick with the memory of this woman she's never met.
And what's so unnerving about that scene is that Mrs. Danvers is there, waiting for her, almost triumphant.
The bed is made up with fresh linen. The smell of Rebecca's perfume, white azaleas, is in the air. Danvers is basically gloating. She offers to show the narrator the nightdress Rebecca wore the last time she was there.
It's psychological warfare.
Absolutely. Danvers' manipulation is just relentless. She tries to force the narrator to touch the nightdress, and her voice becomes ingratiating and sweet as honey, horrible, false.
She whispers these terrifying things about how Rebecca's presence still lingers.
She comes to me in the library. She comes to me everywhere.
Danvers is actively nurturing the haunting. She is trying to drive the narrator insane.
And in total contrast to the pristine opulence of that shrine, you have the other forbidden place, the cottage on the beach, which Maxim reacts to with such violence. His anger is so sudden, so out of proportion. I never go near the bloody place or that goddamned cottage. You can digest that if you like.
That uncontrolled rage tells you this is a much deeper trauma than just grief. Something happened there.
And of course, the narrator, driven by her curiosity and her desperate need to understand her husband, goes to explore it.
And she finds decay. Mold, spoiled books, rat damage. A place where something terrible happened and was just abandoned, left to rot.
It's the physical manifestation of a psychological secret.
And that's where she meets Ben, the simple-minded man from the Cove.
Who is muttering about digging for shell, but is also terrified of being sent to the asylum.
And his fragmented, terrified statements. I saw you go in yonder. His immediate fear of the new Mrs. de Winter. It's all direct foreshadowing. He saw something.
He saw something, and that secret is about to come roaring into the present.
All of this tension, the comparison, the psychological warfare from Danvers, Maxim's hidden pain, it all comes to the spectacular, catastrophic head at the fancy dress ball.
This is the narrator's last, desperate attempt to claim her identity, to become the mistress of Manderley.
And it starts with so much hope. You know, despite Maxim's reluctance, I never dress up. The idea of hosting this ball in her honor gives her this real party fever.
She sees it as her chance to finally become the self she wanted to become, the successful, accepted, admired Mrs. de Winter.
So she chooses her costume very carefully. It's from a portrait of Caroline de Winter, one of Maxim's relatives.
It's a clever choice on the surface. She's trying to root her new identity in the family's history, to blend in and be validated by the Manderley heritage. She pours all their hope into this dress.
But we know, and the text makes it chillingly clear, that there's a hidden, malicious agenda at work.
Mrs. Danvers, she's the one who subtly suggests the Caroline de Winter portrait. She sets the whole trap.
While also making sure the narrator is a lay figure, completely useless to the actual organization of the party. So she has no real role except to be the centerpiece of this disaster.
And that moment of the reveal, it's one of the most agonizing scenes I think I've ever read. She's standing at the top of the stairs, ready for the clapping and laughter.
And there's just silence.
Absolute deafening silence. Nobody clapped, nobody moved. The air is just thick with shock and pity.
And then the realization hits her. The portrait of Caroline de Winter was the very same costume Rebecca wore the year before.
In trying to embody Manderley's history, she has inadvertently resurrected the one ghost she was trying to escape.
And the psychological blow, the real damage, is delivered entirely by Maxim's face.
His eyes, a sort of blank, terrible expression. It's a flash of pure, cold hate. And his command is just brutal. Go and change. Go at once.
He sees Rebecca, and he can't bear it.
The aftermath is just total humiliation. She hides in her room, tearing at her nails. She can't even bring herself to go down in a different dress.
She's just consumed by imagining the servants gossiping. Sulky, I reckon. Or, it's a shame for Mr. de Winter.
And she realizes that her hope, her love, it was all just conceit. Mrs. Van Hopper, the vulgar snob, was right all along.
He's lonely. He can't bear that great empty house. She was a cure for solitude, not a passion.
And that leads her to the ultimate devastating conclusion. Rebecca would never grow old. Rebecca would always be the same. And her, I could not fight. She was too strong for me.
The ghost has won. The marriage is shattered.
But just as she hits rock bottom, the narrative pivots dramatically. The very next morning, the past is no longer a psychological haunting. It's about to become a criminal investigation.
A foreign ship runs aground in the fog near the cove. And there's this immediate ironic link. The celebratory rockets from the ball are replaced by the Coast Guard's distress rockets in the fog.
The party's over. The facade has collapsed into a real crisis.
The harbor master, Captain Searle, shows up at Manderley with just this dreadful official news. Buyers have found a boat.
Rebecca's boat, the one Maxim claimed had been sunk and cleared away a year ago. His whole story was that she sailed into a storm, drowned, and her body was identified miles away.
But inside the cabin of this boat, there's a body. Dissolved. No flesh on it. But it was a body, all right.
And it's immediately identifiable as Rebecca because of the thing she was wearing. This one discovery just blows Maxim's carefully constructed lie to pieces.
And the effect this has on the narrator is transformative. It's instantaneous.
She matures overnight. She confronts Maxim and says, I've grown up, Maxim. In 24 hours, I'll never be a child again.
The need to protect him, this sudden, tangible external threat, it forces her to finally shed that awkward, shy girl persona. She's calm, she's capable, she's protective.
And Maxim, on the other hand, is just consumed by despair. He thinks it's all over. Rebecca has won, her damn shadow keeping us from one another.
And in that despair, he finally tells her the truth. The shattering secret he's been carrying. He didn't just lose Rebecca, he hated her. She was vicious, damnable, rotten through and through.
He then lays out the whole story of the murder. In the cottage, Rebecca had come back from London that night, and she told him she was pregnant.
But not with his child.
Right. Pregnant by another man. And the final, brilliant, malicious twist was that Maxim could never prove the child wasn't his, which meant that Manderley, which was entailed, would pass to an illegitimate heir.
His life would be a perpetual torment, raising another man's son in the house he loved.
And in a fit of rage, he shot her, panicked, and scuttled the boat with her body inside right there in the cove.
And the narrator's reaction. It's one of the great moral inversions in fiction. It's not horror.
No, it's relief. Overwhelming, exhilarating relief. He did not love Rebecca. He did not love Rebecca. The crime itself is almost secondary to the knowledge that his heart was never with the ghost she'd been fighting.
It's an extraordinary moment. And that shared guilt, that truth, it forges this new, powerful alliance between them. The burden of guilt lifts from him and is transferred to her. She becomes the protector.
His lost look is now on her face. She's the stable one. She's the capable partner.
And the battle for his freedom begins immediately. It's all centered on the inquest.
And the inquest opens with this crucial, damning piece of testimony from Tab, the boat builder.
His evidence is purely technical, but it's devastating. He states unequivocally that the boat was deliberately scuttled.
He points to the holes. Those holes weren't there when the boat left my yard. It's my opinion, sir, that the boat never capsized at all. She was deliberately scuttled.
And that just shifts the entire narrative from accidental death to foul play.
And right into the middle of this legal chaos walks the main antagonist, Jack Felville, Rebecca's cousin.
He shows up drunk, arrogant, and claims he was her prospective husband had she lived.
He's implying a secret affair, and he accuses Maxim of murder right to the face of Colonel Julian, the chief constable.
And his whole case, his whole confidence, rests on Ben, the half-wit from the beach. He thinks Ben saw Maxim that night.
But when they bring Ben in, he's just terrified. He's blubbering. He denies seeing anything. So Maxim's story holds, but just barely. The tension is unbearable.
And then Mrs. Danvers makes her final dramatic stand. Her last act of loyalty. She testifies that Rebecca would never, ever commit suicide. It bolsters the murder claim.
But in doing so, she accidentally gives them the one clue that unravels Rebecca's entire plan. She mentions a note in Rebecca's appointment book.
Baker, 0488.
And Colonel Julian, being a good constable, follows up on it. He tracks down a Dr. Baker in London. And this is it. This is the final, astonishing twist.
Dr. Baker reveals that Rebecca wasn't pregnant. She wasn't pregnant at all.
In fact, she couldn't have been. She was infertile. And not only that, she was terminally ill with advanced cancer. She only had months to live.
Which reframes everything, the entire confession, the entire crime.
The true, shocking motive is finally laid bare. Rebecca's story about the baby. It was a final, brilliant act of psychological torture. She knew Maxim would despise raising another man's heir at Manderley.
She wanted him to kill her.
She goaded him into it, ensuring his life would be ruined, his happiness destroyed, all while knowing she was dying anyway. It was a calculated, lethal maneuver.
It's incredible. Maxim realizes he was manipulated into murder. But that same revelation is their salvation.
Because if Rebecca was terminally ill and essentially engineered her own death through psychological warfare, well, it completely neutralizes Fauvel's murder claim. The malice belonged to the victim, not the killer.
Rebecca won the battle. She got him to kill her, but she lost the war. Her death, once it's understood, is what actually saves Maxim from the gallows and finally unites the new couple.
The ghost finally overreached.
And with that threat neutralized, Colonel Julian, who is now satisfied there's a powerful motive for suicide, quietly advises Maxim to get out of the country.
Go abroad, perhaps. So they decide to race back to Manderley, to pack up and escape.
But that final journey is just steeped in this new tension. Maxim is so uneasy, he keeps saying, "Something's wrong, I know it is."
They learn Mrs. Danvers has disappeared from the house, but it's no comfort. Maxim says, "I don't like it." He knows Danvers' devotion to Rebecca is something more than just grief.
The narrator dozes in the car on the way back, and she sees these glimpses of normal life outside the window. A postman, a man with a barrel organ. And it just highlights how completely removed from that world they now are.
And then the final scene, the indelible image. As they get close to Manderley, they see a crimson glow against the night sky.
Manderley is burning.
Mrs. Danvers, in her final fanatical act of loyalty, has destroyed the very thing she was sworn to protect. If she can't have Manderley with Rebecca, then no one can have it. She chose obliteration over letting the new wife win.
And that completes the narrator's journey. From the insecure, nameless girl, afraid of a costume, to this hardened protector willing to lie for her husband, the external threat finally forced her to find an identity.
And it was an identity built on fighting for Maxim, not trying to be Rebecca.
In a way, the nature of memory in this book demanded that kind of dramatic end, didn't it? The house had to be destroyed to extinguish the spirit that lived there.
Exactly. As the narrator says later, thinking of the ruins, a sepulcher, our fear and suffering lay buried in the ruins, there would be no resurrection. The ghost of Rebecca couldn't just be asked to leave, she had to be burned out.
So we'll leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. The narrator describes the ruins of Manderley as unhaunted, with no whisper of the past about its staring walls. Was the physical destruction of the house the only way to finally defeat the ghost of Rebecca, or did the narrator just end up carrying that ghost with her in the form of this shared secret and a new, hard-won identity that was built entirely around Maxim's trauma, even into their exile? Rebecca leaves us with a truth that lingers like fog over Manderley, that the past is never as simple as it seems, and some memories refuse to fade. If this story pulled you into its shadows, share it with a fellow reader and subscribe to Stories Aloud for more timeless tales told with heart. Until next time, keep listening.